you're into sports and you've been on the internet in the past few years, you might have seen a clip like this, or like this, or like this. All of these clips show martial arts trickers performing something called a swing through. Swing throughs are not only my favorite part of tricking, in my opinion, they're also the most unique and distinguishing part about tricking and probably the best thing to happen to the sport. So today we're going to take a brief look at the history of tricking, talk to the man who might have done the first swing through ever, find out what swing throughs are and why they're so special, and look at a bunch of amazing athletes in the process. Let's begin, shall we? So some of the moves that we find in tricking have been around for a very, very long time. Some of them probably for centuries. But tricking as a sport finds its roots in the early 1990s, when martial artists started incorporating acrobatic moves into their routines. And I wish I could tell you what tricking was like back then, but unfortunately, I wasn't born yet. So I brought in someone who might know a thing or two about tricking in the 90s.
My name is Manny Brown. I was competing in sport karate in the late 90s, early 2000s. And that was pretty much when my, I would say, tricking journey started. I was tumbling as a kid. I started tumbling when I was about 6, but that was pretty much just straight tumbling until my teenage years when I started seeing Power Rangers and WMAC Masters. And I was introduced to like a 540 and Only the Strong when I was introduced to a B-twist and, stuff like that. I'll say I started tricking when I learned my first tricking move, which was a butterfly twist. And that was about 1993, 1994. Like I said, around the same time that movie Only the Strong came out. Obviously, there weren't long combinations of big moves like you see now. It was mostly like maybe 2 or 3 moves that were strung together, that had a flow together. But, a lot of tricking was just single moves. I learned a gainer probably, I think it was 1997. I always had random ideas for different things. I actually had the idea for a jackknife before I had actually seen it. Because I had it in my head, I was like, "Oh, it's a new trick, it's a new kick that nobody's ever done." And then I was watching WMAC Masters, and I saw Mike Chatteranabutt do it. So I've always been kind of creative, and so I've always had different ideas flowing around in my head. And I knew that if I linked my dark side B twist with my gainer, because I could only really do it on one side at that point, that I could pull it off. But I was just like, I'd never seen anybody do it before, and I was kind of scared because I'm like, it's this new thing I'd never done before that I'd never known anybody to do before. And it was like, I could fall and hurt myself really badly. So, I just, balls to the walls. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I was like, I'm going to be scared, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. I'm just going to try it. And if I crash really badly, then maybe I'll know that it's not possible. But I went for it. I threw the B twist. The second my foot landed, I threw the gainer and it actually worked. I landed it. And I kind of stood there for a second, just like, oh my God, I did it and I'm not dead. You know what I mean? So that was pretty much the genesis for me. And I believe the first time I did it was 1999. There was no online community back then. So the only time that trickers got to trick with other people was either at tournaments or at your school, if you had other people at your school who did it. And so I knew I had perfected it by then. So I went to the Battle of Atlanta and I showed everybody. They went crazy, but still nobody filmed it because people didn't have cameras like that back then.
So unfortunately, we don't have footage of the first ever swing through. But now, almost 3 decades later, we have plenty of footage to show you what a swing through is. So a swing through is actually not a tricking move at all. It is a transition between 2 tricking moves. In a swing through, you have a plant leg and a swing leg. When coming out of your first trick, your plant leg will land on the floor, whilst your swing leg will swing through without ever touching the ground. If your swing leg is swinging from the front to the back, that is called a front swing, because it's used to transition into a forwards flipping trick, like a race or a Webster. If your swing leg is swinging from the back to the front, that is called a backswing, because it's used to transition into a backwards flipping trick, like a cork or a gainer. The backswing is the more common version, and it's usually just referred to as a swing. I have never heard anybody say, I'm going to do a cork, backswing, double cork. It's just a cork swing dub. Swing throughs are actually completely unique to the sport of tricking. Trickers invented them, and except for a few parkour athletes who took inspiration from tricking, trickers are still the only ones doing them. And here's why swing throughs are such a big deal. Well, aside from the fact that they allow you to carry momentum from one trick into the next one, and that they feel amazing to do, the big thing is that they are incredibly pleasing to look at. The whole reason why this sport exists is because people wanted to add cool flips and acrobatics to their martial arts routines. A huge part of tricking is just trying to do shit that looks cool and is aesthetically pleasing. And there is no smoother way to transition between two tricks than a good swing through. And with that, I'll ask you to swing on over to the subscribe button because I will be pumping out content from Hooked all weekend long. I will also be posting a vlog from my first free plate bench and a compilation of my best flips in 2024. So thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Goodbye.